All right, it's 9 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the second workshop for the aquatic vegetation and trash management rulemaking here at the South Florida Water Management District. We have a very large turnout here in the auditorium, so great to see everybody this morning. I'm really happy to see the interest in this rule. If you are on Zoom or on the phone, welcome. You're currently muted, and I will provide instructions for you to unmute during the public comment period. So first, we're going to have a presentation from Rich Virgil in our field operations. He's going to present on some examples of aquatic vegetation management and trash management plans for everyone to take a look and see what this might look like for you. So, Rich?
Okay, good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to go, one of the main comments that we had received, technical comments that we had received during the first round of comments was, what would the district like to see, or what would they consider to be part of a management plan for vegetation and debris management on their site? So I put together a PowerPoint presentation here. Keep in mind, right, there's a lot of different regulated, would be a lot of different regulated entities, from farming operations to 298 districts to municipalities to HOAs. So the plan isn't a one-fit-all. But the components of it are somewhat similar. We are trying to allow and would want people to try to use as much as possible existing information and documents that they already have on hand, should you be required to submit the plan, because obviously we're only going to request the submittal of the plan should issues arise where discharges are coming into the system that have been noted. So I just preface it that way as I move through this and try to explain what I think I would like to see contained within a plan. So this here is the some of the examples that I would include, right? So I think basically the start of a plan would be a site plan, some type of site plan or map of your facility that identifies the features within your facility, mainly because we need to, what we'd be looking for is a maintenance plan for those facilities. So an existing site plan within your facility, a map of your facility, most likely the drainage infrastructure associated with identifying ditches, canals, laterals, water control structures, culverts, pump stations, lakes, and then location of vegetation barriers and control systems that you may have in place to prevent those discharges. The plan should also include, a listing of what best management plans, practices that you would implement to prevent or minimize the discharge of aquatic vegetation and debris off-site. And then maybe in some cases, a management plan, which could just be a simple spreadsheet that would potentially dictate or spell out, I should say, what you plan to do, from inspections to cleaning to debris removal and that type of thing, so that it went on some type of periodic maintenance interval in order for you to make sure that you didn't have unwanted discharges. So, and in some cases, the management plan, the maintenance plan could be something along the lines of a contract with somebody that you have that's already, that's going to do monthly maintenance or quarterly maintenance for you. A lot of HOAs out there that connect to the system typically contract with a firm to come in and take care of their lakes for aquatic weed control and algae control and trash and, vegetation. So that annual contract and what's spelled out in the contract, most likely would meet the intent of the rule. I know a lot of those type of things, also the management plans issue a monthly inspection report and what they did when they were there. And then one other thing, the last thing I have on here is like copies of pertinent documents that you may have that kind of Document the fact that, of what you've done for maintenance. So inspection reports or invoices for equipment, services or repair, or like I was speaking of, contractual services type things. Oh, I'm gonna go back one. So this isn't, it's not changing for me. Give me just a sec here, because this isn't rolling out quite right. Not sure, but it's not changing the slides correctly. Right, close it. I have. Here. He's coming back. Devon's got a hold of it now. So Jan, the document's not on the desktop now that he closed. Oh, here he goes. Somebody else is driving right now from behind the scenes. Just give us a sec. It wasn't rolling through it well. There we go. Perfect. Thanks. So this is a little graphic that we used when we define know the flow, because basically during flood control, we define flood control, or we try to express that we're all in flood control together, right? From the smallest municipality, storm drains in a street, to an HOA lake, we all have a piece of getting the water from our location eventually to the district system for management and flood control. So in the same sense, right, we're trying to get everyone to do their part as part of the vegetation, floating vegetation and debris management, in order to prevent that from getting into our system, into secondary systems that eventually go to our system, that eventually discharge to tide or some environmental area like Lake Okeechobee or whatever it may be. So in this graphic, I show an HOA lake that has a connection to a secondary system, a pasture land, an agricultural area, an urban area with street discharges, everybody having their piece of their system before it discharges to ours, and then eventually making its way into the primary canal and either being discharged along the east coast to the Intracoastal Waterway, or to a storage area or some other area that we may use to manage floodwaters. So this is just a graphic. We're, like we say like we say in the flood control business, we all have to do our part to move that water to our primary system. And in this case, we're asking that everybody do their part to prevent the discharge of trash and litter and debris and vegetation into the systems and moving it forward. So that's just a way of graphically showing that information. So the first piece, like I said on the first slide, it's a site plan. So just a simple drainage site plan. Here's one for an HOA. They have a lake system. They had drains within it and a discharge point. We have a legend on here. That way, when we go to describe what we're going to do for maintenance, you would be able to describe the different elements on your site and the maintenance activities that may take place. This was just something I put together as a simple farming operation. When you put your plans together, they don't have to have pictures of corn and weed on them and stuff. It was just a graphic representation to show you what I was getting at. But, farm fields have their ditches and canals and drainage pieces that go off to a main canal that may then discharge to a district canal. In this case, I want to show you here is, say that main canal is used by other users within a farming area. So you would need, or the best practice would be, is for the operation to prevent the discharge to the main canal so that when it gets to the district canal, that everybody's already kind of contained their system before it flows through, because you don't want your neighbor passing his stuff to you, to then you have to control your neighbor's vegetation or trash before it gets to the district system. So again, it's a shared responsibility. This is a graphic for a pasture land. Same thing, ditches and laterals and water control structures. Again, you could have internal canal systems before they go to the district system that are shared with other farming operations. So again, you may want to put more controls on your internal system before it goes to that system and then to the district system, so that there's, we're not just passing it along to your neighbor. Here's a graphic for Lake Worth Drainage District's map. And again, I was trying to, say to, we can be using existing information. This is off their website. Lake Worth Drainage District was nice enough to go take the map for me and actually put the locations of all their tough booms and their vegetation control that they have deployed throughout their system, which is very extensive. Excellent, graphic on where they have all their controls in place. And then this is South Broward Drainage District. This too is off their website, and they have a map that can be used to meet the intent of the rule. This one even goes as far as identifying all of the pump stations and control structures and whatnot, and then again, locating their vegetation barriers that would help prevent discharges of unwanted items to the district's primary system. Then we would just get into, what we consider to be best management practices would be the installation, periodic inspection of barriers at all discharge points, periodic maintenance of the barriers, including mechanical removal of vegetation and debris to minimize discharges, periodic maintenance of drainage infrastructure, including mechanical and removal of vegetation and debris, and potentially even the use of herbicides to minimize the development and accumulation of vegetation within their system prior to discharge. These photos were in the last presentation, just part of the best management practices. This is the type of tough boom system that the district uses, different applications, canals, culverts, water control structures. But again, just like the other presentation, there are many devices, many types of tough booms and barriers that can be used to prevent this. Things can be made, out of wood and floating things. There's other brands of things out there and other ways to do this. The district just has, through experience and longevity, has chose to use the tough boom system because it's very robust. It can take a lot of weight. It can take a lot of UV light from the sun and do its job for many years. So we're not out there like you saw the Lake Worth Drainage District if they had 60, 80 of those booms deployed, they won't want to be out there replacing and managing them every single year. You want to be able to put things out that are going to have a robust life cycle. And just some other types of maintenance activities like, mechanical removal of vegetation, maybe in more of an urban area or environment. You'd have storm drain cleaning activities that would take place, from just picking up trash to raking off leaves, or even to the point of bringing out a vacuum truck to pull out and pull sediments and different things from the storm drain. And of course, mechanical debris like with our trash truck that we use. A maintenance plan, I just kind of put together this little graphic that just might show, the type of activities that you would do on the different features that you have, like inspections and mechanical and herbicide applications for your different features within your system, when you may plan to do those, just to keep yourself, on schedule to do these things so that you don't get behind in the maintenance. And then, of course, we're showing a nice picture of mechanical ditch cleaning that, takes place that helps, keep the system clear and free-flowing. Got some pictures of some equipment for larger type of operations that may, entities may need to procure or they already have that they could use, like a trash truck or a convert boat and the tough booms and a long reach excavator. But there's many other types of equipment and things that could be used to meet the intent of the rule, especially on smaller scale things like an HOA. There is some investment in equipment and materials needed to manage a larger system. The smaller ones are easy, and then as your system size grows and your complexity, of course, you need more stuff to manage the vegetation and debris issues. And then finally, just copies of like pertinent documents that you may have that document your activities for maintenance that's taken place. So you may have inspection reports or contracts for lake maintenance or different types of invoices for mechanical harvester or vegetation barrier, or even with the district sometimes it even contracts out dipping and vegetation and mechanical removal. So you may have a contract with another entity for that, and again, another invoice. Just these documents are specific to each entity and how they would manage their system and what they would do. But the intent is to just document the activities and the things that you're doing to meet the intent of the rule. So I hope that covers or gives you a good idea of what I'm talking about. So a site plan, a maintenance plan, and documentation of your activities. The district uses a pretty sophisticated computer system called SAP, where we do all of our work through work orders and stuff. So if I had to prove that I was meeting the intent of the rule, I would be going to my SAP system and downloading work orders and documenting the efforts that we do that way. So there's, whatever the software people use and things that they have that they hopefully already have in place. Like I said, we're not trying to dictate new ways to do your work, but just ways to document it and show us that you're working towards meeting the intent of the rule. And with that, I take any comments on the development of the plan, or if anybody has anything. Yeah, or again, you can wait till public comment and bring it up then if you'd like. But I hope that gives you an idea of just kind of what we're looking for. Okay, thank you. Not sure how to get your...
Okay, thank you, Rich. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so next we're going to go through some changes that we've recently made to the rule language based on comments we received at the last public workshop and, of course, submitted written comments. There we go. So the policy and purpose remain the same, but we did make a change to the definition of CNSF system to try to make it more clear. This is the definition from federal law. We also added the term directly into the definition of a water management system owner. So that system or water management feature directly connects to or makes use of the CNSF system. Those are the connections that we're looking at, as those direct connections. So moving down to the measures required portion of the rule, we've added in a time frame for when this rule becomes effective. So within 180 days of adoption of the rule, or within 30 days of directly connecting to or making use of the system. So that's to cover those folks that may not currently be directly connected, but plan to be directly connected or will be directly connected in the future. And those folks will have 30 days from their connection to comply with the rule. And then we did add to the maximum extent practicable when talking about the prevention of the aquatic vegetation and debris management plan and its capabilities. We've also added some language making it clear that system owners should periodically assess the effectiveness of the implementation of their BMPs, and then update their management plan if appropriate based on that assessment. And then we've added 2 exceptions to the rule. So the first exception is if you have a valid 40E63 permit or works of the district permit and you're appropriately implementing the particulate matter and sediment control BMPs described in the appendix of that rule, then you are not required to have the aquatic vegetation prevention portion of the management plan, but please note that the trash prevention portion is still required. And then the second exception is if you are appropriately implementing and enrolled in a FDACS BMP program, and you're implementing the aquatic weed control BMPs in conjunction with the aquatic plant management BMPs, as described in the FDACS BMP manual for your land use. Then you are also exempt from having to provide an aquatic vegetation prevention management plan, but you are still required to provide that trash prevention management. Note that the exception for FDACS BMP implementations does require you to provide the district with your implementation records for those BMPs upon request in the same way that you would need to provide the management plan upon request. And in the remedial action section of the rule, we did make it clear that failing to provide your implementation records upon request is a violation of the rule. And that is the extent of the changes that we've made since the last workshop. This language is available on our website. It's been up there for about a week, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to review it before this workshop and is able to provide public comment. Otherwise, we are accepting written public comment as well. So we will move on to the public comment portion of this workshop. We're going to go ahead and have the folks that are here in person do their public comment first. So if you do have a public comment, you're welcome to come to the podium. Please provide your name and your public comment.
Good morning. My name is Benita Whalen, and I'm the Water and Environmental Manager for the Florida Cattlemen's Association. Unfortunately, President Wes Carlton and Jim Hanley were unable to attend because of a scheduling conflict, but they do want you to know that this issue is very important to the cattleman industry, and they specifically asked me to attend in person. The comments that were previously submitted by President Carlton, many we believe are still valid. We appreciate the update to the rule language, but there are still many concerns for the industry. I'm just going to mention a few because we do plan on submitting written comments, but would like to mention that we'd like to see more of a science-based approach addressing all of the water resource issues, understanding that flood protection and aquatic weed management in Florida is a very difficult situation for everyone, but we do believe that it should be looked more on a science base, that sometimes there's unintended consequences that we aren't aware of if we don't evaluate all of the water resource components. And then I'd also like to say that we still believe that there appears to be duplication of best management practices for agriculture. And that's a concern for the industry. More regulation, more overlapping requirements is just not conducive to being able to produce food and to continue their operations. So that still is a concern that needs to be reduced or eliminated. And so with that, I would just like to say we will be submitting written comments, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whalen. Do we have any other public comment here in the auditorium? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to those of you online. If you would like to make public comment and you are on Zoom, please raise your hand using the raise your hand function. If you are on the telephone, then you will need to press *9 to raise your hand, and you will need to press *6 to unmute yourself once you've been called on. Okay, so on Zoom, we will start with Ernie Barnett, followed by Jake Foytek, followed by Diane Goldberg. Ernie, if you want to unmute yourself, you're free to speak.
Thank you, Ms. LaMonica. I appreciate it. And my name's Ernie Barnett. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Land Council. And we have 11 members who own well over 1 million acres who operate within the boundaries of South Florida Water Management District that would be affected by this rule. Like the comments from Ms. Whalen, we are appreciative of the efforts that were made to address some of the concerns raised in the prior comment period, but we do believe it still falls significantly short of addressing several key issues. I think the most significant one is the duplication of regulations. There are many existing regulatory programs within the district and within other agencies that currently are designed to manage the debris and vegetation coming off of properties, including the district's own right-of-way program, as well as the 40E63 program in Chapter 1, that are in the EAA and the C139 basins. And I think there might be some technical edits that are necessary and some overall structural changes to the rules that would make it achieve the intent, including addressing the removal of duplicated efforts and allowing for existing regulated activities to substitute or exempt from this rule the necessary need to participate in the rule. We are going to provide, there are other issues, and are going to provide more detailed comments during the written comment period, but I appreciate the opportunity to address you today and apologize for not being able to be there in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett. Mr. Foytek, if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to speak.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent. Yeah, this is Jake Foytek with the Florida Farm Bureau Federation. We're a grassroots nonprofit with over 132,000 member families, many of which live and farm within the boundaries of the South Florida Water Management District. And I appreciate the opportunity to comment this morning. We appreciate the update to the rule language, but we do still have some concerns, namely the costs associated in the duplication of regulations and record keeping for farmers and ranchers that are enrolled in the FDAC's BMP program. This plan includes the entirety of a farm or ranch rather than focusing on the connection to the CNSF system. The key issue we feel is avoiding having vegetation and debris leave the existing system. This proposed rule imposes a program that will result in substantial costs requiring fieldwork and administrative time, which is and can be particularly onerous for smaller farmers and ranchers. Additionally, we feel that the farm and ranch site examples do not accurately reflect farm and pasture site plans. Most pasture and ranch lands are non-point source and do not have ditches, laterals, canals, or project culverts. So again, appreciate the opportunity. Sorry I couldn't be there in person as well, and we will be providing additional written comment down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foytik. Next, we will have Diane Goldberg, followed by Richard Budell. Diane, if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to speak.
Thank you. Um, I'm the Conservation Chair for St. Lucie Audubon, and we would like to ask you to discourage the use of herbicides to control vegetation, since they will kill unwanted, kill wanted native plants as well as the weeds. And many herbicides are linked to mammalian cancers, developmental deformities, endocrine disruptions, and more. So wherever possible, we hope that you will prevent the use of those, at least that do cause these problems, and discourage the use of herbicides wherever possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. And Rich Budell, you're next if you'd like to speak. You can unmute yourself now.
Yes, thank you. You hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thanks. So I would just like to chime in on the comments from Mr. Barnett, Mr. Foytik, and Ms. Whalen. I represent the Florida Agribusiness Council, a statewide organization with many members in the confines of the South Florida Water Management District. I previously submitted comment as well in writing. Much of that you've attempted to address, but as Ernie indicated, I think there are still many, many areas that could be improved and still are of concern to my members. The duplication of existing regulation and opportunities to address your intent through other programs is of paramount concern. I'd also like to, again, reiterate a request I made in writing a couple of weeks after I submitted my comments last time, and that is the status of the district's statement of estimated regulatory cost. We're very interested in assessing that document when you've got it available, and would encourage you to make that effort and get that out for review as quickly as possible. My group will also be submitting written comment timely, and I won't take up any more of your time, but I think that captures it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Budell. Next, we will have Rhonda Roth, followed again by Diane Goldberg. Rhonda, you're free to speak if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you so much for having this workshop. I represent the Sierra Club Calusa Group, which is Hendry Glades, Collier, and Lee counties. I live in Hendry County, and we're actually cattle ranchers ourselves. And I appreciate the comments of Benita Whalen. I would like to discourage the use of aquatic herbicides. The aquatic herbicides are contaminating the waterways, leaving the vegetation to decompose and nutrients to be resuspended in the waterways. And in particular, I find it horrifying that glyphosate in particular leaves phosphate as a residue behind, which only encourages additional plant growth, particularly in the freshwater systems. I would like to encourage the district to work more closely with FDACS and DEP on controlling nutrient inputs to the water bodies, which then necessitate the aquatic herbicide applications, and encourage more mechanical removal and potential beneficial reuse of the the nuisance aquatic vegetation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Roth. If there is anyone else that would like to make public comment, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. If you're on the phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. Ms. Carrie Cates, you're now able to make public comment if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Carrie Cates with the Florida Fruit and Vegetable Association. FFEA is an agricultural organization whose membership represents the vast majority of fruit, vegetable, and other specialty crop production in Florida. And I thank you for the opportunity to comment this morning. We appreciate some of the proposed revisions to the draft rule, specifically those germane to the agricultural industry. However, it is our hope to fully exempt those agricultural producers that have a permit under Chapter 40E-63 or that are enrolled in FTAX's BMP program, given that they are already implementing aquatic plant management practices, and that was addressed this morning during the presentation. But also given that they are utilizing physical barriers such as floating traps, screens, and debris baffles near structures and at system connection points, which should address the concerns regarding trash and other floating debris. Having seen some of the examples in this morning's presentation of what the district is expecting as part of the management plan, we now also have concerns regarding the overall cost to implement, the expectations that the district has outlined this morning, especially given the focus internally on the operation as opposed to just at the connection point to the CNSF system. This rule will be particularly cost prohibitive for our middle to small size producers. And as previously stated, in its current form, the rule creates duplicative regulatory requirements, which has the potential to become just extremely onerous for our agriculture producers. We will be providing some additional comments, and we look forward to continuing to work with the district. And again, I thank you for the opportunity this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Cates. If anyone else on Zoom or on the phone has a public comment, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you for your time in reviewing this rule. We really have received some extremely insightful comments that have helped us to formulate a rule that works for everyone. Our next steps, we are contracting with a consultant to do a CIRC. When that document is available, we will provide it for comment. If you have written comment on the current draft rule language, please submit that by May 10th to jansluth@jsluth@sfwmd.gov. And that will complete today's rule workshop. Thank you all again. Have a great rest of your day.